Welcome to Film Study and All-American Universe podcast with Lexi. I'm Lexi. Like, subscribe, share, all of the things. Here's me and Carmen talking about part 2, where we get into Spencer's journey, what Liv did for him, Liv, Jordan, and Coop's conversation about Spencer. Everything Spencer related in United in Grief, episode 515. So, hope that you enjoy it. Here it is. So Spencer's voiceover is that he has to face his grief today. Everybody's got sort of a voiceover. And I've actually really appreciated that they started everything out with a voiceover, I won't belabor the point about script writing and all that. But yeah, I don't know. I just think it's really special when we can pause and just hear the voice of the character, and get to really hear their inner thoughts, and I think the voiceover is a great way to do that. Narration.
Yes, agreed.
But also he's saying this, we're seeing him sort of, running, which he often does, to clear his head, and uh turning over in his very empty bedroom. The LeBron poster is no longer there.
Really? I missed it.
It's no, his room is completely empty because remember, it's boxed up because they not
Oh
anyway. Don't
yeah,
even get me
because they was
started.
supposed
Oh, we're
to
gonna get to that. We're
she was
gonna get
supposed
to
to be
that. It might
wigging
be back
out.
up in a second. It might be
Okay,
back
go
up
ahead. Go
in
ahead.
a second. But anyway, basically, Spencer's a jerk to everybody around him. We know that Spencer just spent the week in Oakland with Grace and Dylan and Carter, but they're
Hmm.
back and they're having breakfast. And Spencer sits down, and it was
The
really
lost his
just
mind.
a jerk, and so he was supposed to take Dylan to this art exhibit. Dylan accidentally spills juice over his phone, and Spencer, to your point, loses his mind, stands over Dylan until
What?
Dylan gets up.
Dylan balked back up. Dylan was like, "What?
Dylan was just like,
What?
"Oh, I'm as tall as you now."
What?" He was like, "Little brother, what? What? I'm
Yo,
here
and
for
the
it."
thing was, I was looking at that. I was just like, "Yo, Dylan could take him. I'm convinced."
Listen, right? He was right there. Like I'm like Spencer. If he grabbed me and slammed you, it's over. Like Spencer, like little bro kind of becoming, he kind of big for a little bro lately. Just like
He kind of big, and not only that, because it was just like Spencer was doing all this bucket at the table. Carter, obviously Grace is just like, hell no. There we
what?
go, Grace season
What?
one,
That was
who
funny.
should have been back.
Grace turned into a straight black mama. She said, "Oh hell
Grace
no!
turned into a Grace of season one,
What?" As
and
she
said,
should.
"Spencer,
'Cause
sit,
this
as
lost
she should,
mine.
have been doing this whole time."
Yes,
Anyway,
yes.
we'll go get into it.
But wait, I do
Uh,
have one question. Like, was there beef with Spencer and Dylan prior? Because I mean, Dylan comment was a little sideways. Like, I get it, he made an accident. Spencer overreact, but he was like, "I'm pretty sure Billy voicemail is fine." I'm like, whoa,
I think it's just that Spencer has been not pleasant to
that's what I said.
everyone
Like,
that's around
was
him.
there
Yeah.
was there previous like in Oakland because like that was like
I
just
think so because I mean you hear Grace talking about, I've had patience. I already called Dr. Spears or alerted him to like when you were ready to go to this session, but you finna have this session today. You finna
today,
have it today. Today.
today.
Um And so I think that, that was a question that I had. I was just like, so what's been going on in Oakland that nobody notices? But Grace did notice it and was just letting it sort of
Trying to let
hit a
him work
pinnacle.
himself through
Exact.
it. Yeah.
And the thing is, I was just like, you should have done this ages if you.
When Spencer turned to Carter and was like, "This is
And
family
that's
business,"
the
I was
part. When Carter stood up and said, your mom said something, and Spencer told him to like this was family business, whatever. I was like, Carter, if you don't
listen,
step daddy up.
what? What? I was ready for Carter and Dylan to fold him up. Like, fold him up.
Literally.
Fold him up. Cause he, and then, cause even after Grace was like, hell nah, he still was talking sideways. So
Still
it was
talk
like,
talk sideways to her out the door because she
yes,
was
well,
just like,
okay,
"You
I
not finna
don't
be in
know.
my house. You not finna
Listen,
be at my house and do that." And he was like, "Oh, maybe I don't need to be in this house no more."
what was Grace like when that last line when Grace was like, well, as long as you're gonna be in my house, you go I'm like, Grace, he hasn't been in your house since college. What are you talking about?
But I
They've
think
been
that's
at
what it
the
was,
beach
is that
house.
he was with her. He's been with her for the past, I mean, obviously the week in Oakland, but he's been at the James's house quite a bit lately.
But he lived that's it ain't quite a bit. It was only like a week during Billy funeral and stuff, but it's like he
No, it was
lives
like
at
a
the
week and
beach
a half,
house.
right?
He been at the beach house.
But that's look, that's still under her roof. No, what?
What?
See, this is what. No, this is why it's a seven for me. Y'all got me
That
defending
man,
Grace. In
that
a
man have
second, I'm
not
gonna be
been living
defending
under her
Coop.
roof this season. This season
Oh
he has
my
been living at
freaking
Delaney house.
gosh! I
That's
hate
why
it
he
here. I don't want to defend Grace. I don't
this
wanna.
this is this is I mean, he was dead wrong for the way he came at her, but I'm like, come on, Grace, you gotta come a different line than that because he has the option to leave because he don't live here. You don't live here.
You don't live. Look, I'm gonna give you that one, but I think that she was saying like, I let you sort of run away from your problems, and you've been staying with us, and if you finna stay with us and be in this household right now, I think that's where she was coming with it. If you finna be in this household right now, you not finna talk to me like
I guess.
that.
He
I said,
they
I
wrote a
guess.
different one. And why is everybody moving back for Spencer James? He is okay. Like I can't. They moving back. I'm not gonna
I
play.
okay. Hold on. All right, let's. We not even there yet. We not even there
We
yet. We
not
not
there
even
yet.
there
Okay, I'm
yet.
backing up. Okay,
Uh,
rewind.
but like we said, she calls got the rewind noise. Called Dr. Spears, calls Dr. Spears again. Um, you know, he has this experience where he's talking to JJ and Asher. I don't even feel like he was really present in that conversation. Especially once JJ mentioned Coach Baker's boys. Uh
Mm-hmm.
and Dr. Spears comes in and Asher let him in. Um and Spencer once again talking sideways, right?
What?
Dr.
Yes, he
Spears is
does.
like, I got an urgent call from your mom and she's worried about you. And Spencer's basically like, well, I'm fine and you can get out. And, basically tells him he's trespassing. Just like he talked sideways to Kenny the other day. Um,
It was definitely that old Spencer James that just wanted a good fight. Like he just wanted to fight. It's like,
I feel like this was beyond like I feel like this was definitely beyond the old Spencer
oh
James. Like
yeah,
I
definitely
definitely
a higher
got,
level. But it just put me in a mindset of the
yeah,
Spencer James that when
that was
he
always
was
looking for a
fight.
fight.
Yes.
That was always looking for a fight. Yeah. But yeah, it was just so interesting to see that. And I'm gonna once we get to Live, I'm gonna talk about more about that. But you know, then he goes to Kenny, asks for the transfer letter. This is why Kenny was upset because he's just like, you know doesn't even really ask for the
He don't.
recommendation letter
He
for the
don't.
transfer. I don't even know why I said really. Doesn't ask at all um for the transfer letter, sort of for the recommendation letter. Just demands the recommendation letter. And Kenny like, hold up, little homie.
Like,
I
listen.
say
He was
thank
like,
you.
listen,
I've been,
little homie.
because
I let you
yo,
get
I
away
have
with the
been
first time.
waiting. I've been waiting for people to come with this energy that Spencer has been giving them for weeks, And I
Yes.
was so happy to see that nobody like let him get away with
I
that this
told you
week.
I was waiting on somebody to fold him up. Like somebody
No,
should have
for
had
real.
folded
I was
him.
waiting for that open hand to slap.
Listen, something need to pop him back to reality. Like, listen, like Grace, I get it. You raise your voice, but he raising it back. Now go on over there and show him like who you talking to? Who
No,
you
but
talking
look,
to?
that's why I appreciated so much that Dylan was as tall as Spencer. Because I
What?
said, yeah, I don't see you swinging. I don't
What?
see you swinging. I'll see you swinging on Carter. I don't see you swinging on Kenny. You saw that
Dylan,
as soon as people bucked
Dylan
up
was
with him,
like,
he was like, "Oh, I can't handle that."
listen, Dylan was like, I'm from
Look,
Crenshaw
people are
too.
gonna be so mad at me for saying they're gonna be in the comments just like Spencer can take any of them.
Listen, Dylan was like, I'm from Crenshaw too. What? What?
I can hear it now. The people that have me blocked on Twitter go be hate listening to this. Like Spencer can take any of them. He would have destroyed them. He just didn't.
I don't know now. Dylan done swolled up overnight. I don't know now.
Right. That's
Got
what
to
I'm
see it.
saying. I'm like, so I love when Kitty was like, listen, little homie. Lil, cuz, listen,
What?
cuz,
Crenshaw was coming out of
listen,
everybody.
cuz. Y'all can't see me, but I'm doing this. See, listen, cuz.
This ain't what you want. Like,
Oh my god.
he was gonna give him that fight he keep looking for.
You would never think this was an episode that like made me tear up the way I'm acting right now.
Oh gosh. Because it had its moments of comedy too. That's
It did. It did have its moments of comedy. Um so yeah, so Kenny's just like, I let it slide the first time, but you're not finna do it, and I'm finna give it to you when I'm good and ready. So Dr. Spears meets him outside the athletic building, and tells Spencer, like, what is it about men in your life showing up for you that gets you triggered? And he has this moment, Spencer has this moment where he's just like, I'm not triggered. And if that is not a real life
yes it is.
reaction,
Yes.
I'm not up. I am not upset. I
Yes.
just
That's why I love when the doctor said the line like black man has an issue with saying I'm not okay.
yeah,
It was
definitely.
like you live around here doing the most and you're saying you're fine. You're not fine.
Right. 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 And so later on in the day, which we'll get back to the I'm gonna get back to the details when I talk about Liv's part. Liv and Coop, I'm terming this. Um but goes obviously after he punches the dresser, calls Dr. Spears, uh just stares at it. Dr. Spears takes him out for the walk, and our swing set is back. Me and Kaya called it. Because I missed that swing set, man. I missed that swing set.
I'm done. I'm done.
I did. It was important for him to go back there. It really was. It really was. And so they walked in the park, and Spencer ends up telling Dr. Spears that he called because he had scared Dylan. Um, and he tells Dr. Spears he's having an out of body experience, and it's like watching a person do and say things that aren't him. Emphasis on that aren't him, because
Mhm.
come back up. And Dr. Spears tells Spencer that he's in crisis, and so they spend the day walking, and they talk about Sean, and he says Sean left, and Dr. Spears like, he didn't leave, he died.
He died. Yes.
They talk
Yes.
about Corey, and they say, Dr. Spears says, despite the anger, you build up great memories with him, which, again, in the past, I've talked about just how much of a stark difference that was for Spencer to go through in that short of a time. Um, because he spent what, let's say 8 years angry at his dad, let's say from 8 years old to 16 years old, something like that. So 8 years angry at his dad, and then in the space of a couple of months he gets to know him again, and his dad becomes his hero. That's major things to go through. And then and obviously Billy, also I wanted to say this, he says about Corey and about his reaction to his death is that he at least got to say goodbye.
Mhm.
um but when we get to
Did
how
he get to
Billy's
say
death,
goodbye though? Did he get to say goodbye?
they went fishing.
That wasn't goodbye. Okay, I give it to him. I
Well, I
don't
mean,
feel.
it's goodbye, and I mean, we can't decide what Spencer's goodbye.
Yeah. I was just okay, okay.
Woo. But they knew it, I think it's just
I think
that
it was the
Spencer,
closure. Maybe they meant like, cause he
yeah.
was angry with him, and so when he did pass, they had got past the anger. So
But also,
versus
I
with
think
Billy,
not
he was
just the
still angry.
closure. I don't even think it was just the closure because now that I'm thinking back to season 2, it what they didn't know that he was coming back home with them until
The end when they
he
was getting ready to get in
surprised
the
them at
car.
the end. And so they really did just sort of have this weekend with him sort of
With the idea
saying their
of
last
it
with the
being it.
idea.
Okay,
Yeah,
I
and then
view
just
that.
knowing that he had this sickness, knowing that he had this illness. So it was very, you know, final, but and they wanted him to fight it obviously. But I do think I understand where Spencer's coming from when he's like, at least I got to say goodbye.
Okay, I
Uh
agree now.
but for Billy, of course, he did not get to say goodbye and he gets a call from Kenny. He doesn't decline the call, and so that's where the breakthrough comes, is that Spencer, sort of breaks down and is like, leave it alone. And again, Dr. Spears gets in his face. He only responds. And
Listen,
not only to Spencer, but I feel like people in this show only respond when people like get it like up in your face.
no, that's especially with Spencer though. Especially since
Especially with Spencer, but it's true for a couple other people too. Let's not.
it is, but it seemed like it's just more for me. It's more true with Spencer just because it's like everybody has to do it.
Because
Even
this is about
Corey.
Spencer,
Yeah.
we're going to talk about it offline because I'm going to give you a couple of examples.
But that, if you think about even Corey, like that day at the cabin, he had to get up in his face, like get him to get to come out. Like
No, I know, but I'm saying I'm gonna give you a couple other examples. We see it more with Spencer because he's the main character, but a lot of people in this show,
they got to say
a
it with
lot
their
of people,
chest.
but offline, yeah, they gotta
Okay.
sit with the chest. Um, so gets into Spencer's face, and he's just like, why did you decline the call? And he was just like, because I declined his call. He could barely get it out right.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and he's like, Coach, the man that saved my life, my hero, right? And he's like, why do they always leave me? And breaks down
Oh,
in Dr.
he's
Spears' arms. Whew.
yes, he did. That's such a
And
moment.
it was just such a powerful moment seeing two black men on television
Oh
embrace in
my
this
god, I
way.
felt the same way. I was like, yes, yes, my
Because
black
it's
man,
like,
yes.
without getting into too much detail, it was like, I saw my family in this. You know what I mean? Like I saw people that I know in Spencer and in Dr. Spears.
Come on. I loved it. I loved the scene because I was like,
I
not
I
too
loved
many.
it.
Yeah, I don't like growing up. I didn't see too much of, especially our black man encouraging the other one to feel. Like to actually
Yeah.
show emotions. So to get that scene, it was great.
And again, we're talking about like you gotta get up in people's faces, and really that's what it be sometimes.
It does. You got to push them to
That's what
that.
it be like.
Hmm.
That's what it be sometimes.
He pushed him. He was like, like, because that you see that moment where he was getting ready to shut back down, and the
Right.
doctor pushed him, was like, no, let it out, give it a voice, and he
Give it a voice.
did, and he broke
I
down.
thought he was finna try to fight Dr. Spears for a
Oh
second.
yeah, for about 5.3 seconds, he was.
Truly, truly. But Adrian Dukes, again, who wrote this, was talking about just how important it was for him. Like he needed to have this moment of seeing Spencer embraced and seeing a young black man embraced by an older black man, and
Yes.
this vulnerable moment and this hug. And so
And can
it
we just
was
take a
important.
moment and give a clap for the doctor because he wouldn't give up. He could have just.
Ah, Daniel, let me say this. Daniel played his part. He absolutely played his part, and it was heartbreaking and gut wrenching But can we give claps also to the actor that played Dr. Spears?
Yes. Yep. Sure can. Sure.
Being the quiet calmness, but still showing strength in the face of this character who his whole identity, like just in popular culture, right? Like that is Spencer.
I'm
So it's like
angry. I was waiting for it.
we expect that from him, but for somebody to be able to sort of play opposite the I'm angry
Yes.
and play opposite someone like, the guy who's played Corey, I'm forgetting his name, apologies, but the guy who played Corey, no slouch, right? Tay Diggs, no slouch. And so he's been playing Daniel has been playing opposite these really like powerful black men actors. And so I'm just like, props to you, Dr. Spears. I need to figure out his real name. But props to him for being the person
For
playing
standing in the paint. Yes,
opposite.
he did. Because I
Yeah.
thought Spencer was gonna hit him for a couple times. Even at the
Eugene.
house, I
Eugene.
was
That's
like,
who played it.
huh?
Eugene is his name. Eugene Bird. So shout out
Okay.
to you.
Well, I thought Eugene was gonna get hit by Spencer as Doctor, because even at the house, it was like, oh my God, Spencer's gonna hit this man. I was like,
Literally.
and for him to still show up at the school, and it was like, okay, you see something is wrong, and you are pressing the issue. But then he left the ball in Spencer court, and it was like, yes,
Yeah.
okay,
So for Eugene and Tay, obviously, who played Billy, and Chad, who was the person that played Corey, Jay, who played Sean, like all of these, it's just great. It's great to see them bringing to life these black men characters who are being there for Spencer. It's really great to see and playing opposite Daniel. Um,
hmm
and so to your point, they get back to the house, and uh, you know, Spencer has this speech where he says, "People, why do you say people?" Or Dr. Spears asked him, "Why do you say people always leave?" He was like, "Oh, because people do always leave." Um, and again,
yeah.
I'm going to
Do you know what that remind me of? The one, I think it was Corey was dying, and he was like, "Why you always leaving me, man?"
yeah, yeah.
Oh God, dang it! No, he be playing that part.
And again, I feel like I'm sounding like a broken record at this point, but I was just like, eventually Spencer is going to come to see that just like the letters, the voicemail is a gift. And that's the conversation that they have. Dr. Spears says, like, you know, Sean gave you the gift of your future. Your dad gave you the gift of Darnell and um,
Coach
gave you
Kenny.
Coach Kenny for
hmm
brother figures in your life. And Billy gave you the gift of the voicemail and some other gifts as well. But
Yeah, got a
Dr.
whole.
Spears only knows
We
about
got
the
a whole
voicemail.
Baker family. Like Billy definitely
Literally,
got gifts.
literally. So
He
I
got
was
a
just like some
lawyer.
other gifts.
He gave you a
Yeah.
lawyer. He gave you a brother. He gave you a mother figure who shows up for the whole friend crew for free.
No,
Laura.
girl, I love how you giving Laura her shot right now, and obviously
I'm just saying, he
she
definitely
gave you
gave
your
gifts.
soulmate too. Your soulmate too. Um, and he was just like, and what do we do to people that leave us gifts? And it's like, oh, we thank them.
He said,
And so
"Yes."
he ends up the voiceover ends up being a return voicemail to Billy, uh, where he talks about it, and it's really interesting because he's like speaking about him not sort of dealing with his grief, but now he's on his way to being better. And he talks about the voids, and I think it's really an important call out to talk about the fact that Spencer mentioned voids, just like Jordan did, um, to show that you know he is like Billy meant a lot to him, and
He did.
he doesn't Spencer because he also had some parallels with Liv as well because there was this line where it was just like I wish people could see you the way that I wish you could see you the way that we see you, and that's something that Laura also said to Liv. And I'm just like Spencer has parallels with Liv, Spencer has parallels with Jordan too. And so it's just like he has parallels with the entire Baker family because
That's his
this is
family.
about Billy, and Billy touched them all, and et cetera, et cetera, et
He's
cetera.
the other son. Yes.
Yeah, his favorite son.
Yeah.
So so that was it. And they then have that gathering at the end, which was funny because it was just like not Laura in this last scene, not even the episode, don't even get no dialogue, just there in the background. But it was funny, it was funny. Now, again, we've talked about how much I loved it and how important this subject was. Mental health for black men, it's not very often talked about. And so for that, this
We
episode was
loved
truly
it.
special. And for
Yes.
that, I loved it. And for that, I give this a really, really high marks. And now on to the low marks.
What? Yeah, and then at the end, you're gonna tell us what the rating is for you. Go
Well,
ahead.
because I was trying to do it first.
Go ahead. This
Do
is a
you
high
have
mark. I,
anything?
I would love to figure. I'm trying to find out how is it low. Go ahead.
Do you do
Elaborate
you,
in my Spencer James voice. Elaborate.
well? And you know what? Before we get to that, I want to finish off on some good things. I don't know if
I
this is
just
really a
love
good thing.
the good things remark. But we're gonna go ahead and let you keep having that.
um. Uh. Anyway, Spencer ends up apologizing to both Kenny and Jordan for how he acted. I'm like, we should have seen him apologize to Dylan,
Mm-hmm.
just
Grace,
like the
Carter,
girls have to go do all these apologies. We should see
especially
the men have to
Carter,
do all these. Uh, girl.
especially Carter. This
So
man for the uproot his whole life to come back to make sure you good. What?
that
Mm-mm.
and speaking of that, big sigh. Grace is moving back, but I mean, shout out to Carter, but it's like she never left. Ah,
She
ha, ha,
didn't. She
ha.
ain't going nowhere. She been there the
That's why
whole
I
time.
said that's why I said it's like she never left. Ah, ha, ha, ha.
I don't even know the purpose of moving her away because
Literally, that was the biggest just interesting storyline that they could have done because she did not leave. She was literally always there. In fact, I feel like she was more there than she has been in the past. Do you not feel that way? I'm like, we definitely saw her less in season 4.
listen, she never was like since she moved away and got married. She never been
She
away.
been there
Like
all the time.
yes, 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 yes.
Like, why, man? Anyway, so she back. Again, she never even left in the first place. But
Nope.
Darnell gets his 3 seconds.
Girl, I said, look, he done took a break from selling drugs.
Wait, break from not you talking about BMF. Please.
He left us. He left us.
Truly.
But I love to see
Uh
him. I love to see he come
yeah.
back.
Yeah, it was great to see him show up for Spencer. And he was just like, "Oh, I can't believe my mom called you." No, that was Liv,
That
just
was
like she
all
called you the
Liv.
last intervention. Liv won't let
Liv.
anyone give up on you, not
What?
for a second.
She said nobody.
Um,
You think All America would not give a dramatic line? That was definitely dramatic. That was
what
yeah.
do you mean? I think they always give dramatic
That's
lines, just like we said. Oh, your
I was
sister's one
just
smart woman.
yes. Liv won't let nobody give up on you. Like, okay. I get it, but it was like that was a little dramatic. Why would I give it to y'all?
It was very dramatic, and again, this is getting to why I had such mixed opinions on this episode. Liv
Hmm.
won't let anybody give up on you. I'm gonna say this at the top so that everybody knows what I'm thinking before I sort of get into it. I think that it was very unfair to frame Coop and Jordan and Alicia's response as giving up on Spencer. I think it was very unfair. Um and so this line that Liv took, and we'll get into it. But this line that Liv took, I just thought it was interesting, and I wish we had seen them give Liv a little bit more context for the things that she was saying. Um, so anyway, Coop drops Dylan off. We're jumping earlier in the episode. Coop drops Dylan off to Spencer, um, and Coop is really trying to get Spencer to talk because he's still sort of in his anger stage at this point, right? He hasn't talked to Dr. Spears. In fact, right, he just told Dr. Spears he was trespassing,
Yeah, and
and
this
then
is
told Dr. Spears, right,
and
and then
then
said,
Coop is
like, why are
telling
you following me?
yeah, and then Coop is telling Liv and Jordan about everything.
Yeah, but we're not even there yet. We're not even there yet because Coop drops Dylan off at the baker. Dylan, and Coop is trying to get Spencer to talk, and
Mhm.
she says like the scorched earth thing that you're doing to the people that you love, uh, this is worrying me. And Spencer responds like, I don't need you or Dylan or the bakers or whoever else. Like they can mind their
Money
business.
on. Ooh,
Yeah,
telling you, Spencer
and
was somebody should have put hands on him. Just episode.
somebody. And this is how Coop responds, right? You are our business.
Yes.
And if you're hurting, we're hurting. And that this is not good what he's doing. You're not, and also says like you're not good. You're not okay.
Mhm.
And this, right? I'm not going to let it go until we figure this out. And then that's when, Coop, Spencer's in the background being like, leave it alone, da da da. Then punches the dresser.
Yes.
Leave me alone. Sorry. I just got that clip. People
I'm
have been like
angry.
playing that
You
clip.
angry.
People
You
have been
angry.
playing that clip like constantly as reactions on Twitter. They're just like, leave
I'm
me alone.
done.
It's just
I'm
like,
done. You better get off of Sister James. Get off of Sister
no,
James.
you don't
Not
even
too
play.
much.
You know that's finna become a TikTok. You know that's finna
Listen,
become a
not
TikTok.
too much. Not too much.
You
Not too
know
much.
that's finna become a TikTok.
Not
And
too much.
so anyway, he punches the dresser, and Coop tells him that she's seen him through a lot of ups and downs, uh, and that she doesn't know this Spencer James. Uh, and then has the conversation, like you said, has a conversation with Liv and Jordan, tells Liv and Jordan that Spencer punched a hole in the cabinet. And
Mhm.
Liv says that, oh, we can't just abandon him.
Mhm.
uh, and then Jordan's just like, again, mind you, his grief episode, like his arc, whatever, just took place a day ago. He was just like, when I saw him last night at the thing, his eyes, it was different. And
Yes.
then Coop tells them about Alicia and said, "Oh, wrote him a Dear Spencer letter, whatever." Up until
And,
this
yeah, and
episode,
then Liv goes, she's gonna leave
right?
like
Well, no, not
that.
even. No, I want to say that up until this episode, I didn't even think that Alicia had broken up with him. But Coop frames it in this episode as a breakup. But then go ahead. What did Liv say? Go ahead, take it.
When she goes, oh, she leave him at the time. I'm like, listen, he pushed that girl away. Like, come on, Liv. Like,
And that
girl.
is so. Liv says, right? Does that mean she dumped him because he's not fun anymore?
Yes.
Also, let's say this: Jordan did not know that they were broken up. Just like I didn't know that they were broken up because I didn't even take that letter as a
So
breakup.
Jordan, and me and Jordan
She
found out
literally said
together.
in the letter, what did she say? She was just like, "I'm just giving you some
She's gonna
space,
step
and then
back.
like call me. Yeah, I'm gonna step back and tell and let me know when you're ready." That's what she said. Uh, and then Liv tells them like knowing Spencer, right? That was his last straw on his downward spiral.
Mm-hmm.
And then Coop says like, and that again, that was in response to sort of Alicia. And Coop is just like, hold up, he pushed her away, and
Yes.
and again, why do I give this a low rating? Because why did this have me screaming, "Thank you, Coop"?
you said you said the rating dropped when I have to agree with Coop against Liv. What Liv
It's
said,
the
yes.
facts.
Oh gosh, yeah, I
It's the
definitely would
facts.
say the way that they gave Liv the whole call people out. It was like, listen, he haven't cussed you out. He hasn't like Liv.
And okay, and can we talk about, okay, I'm gonna explain this last thing and then we finna get into it. Because she says, how can no one get that Spencer is hurting, his abandonment? And Jordan says, like, I'm not sure what else we can do. And she says, not give up on him. And this is my response to that. And I was just like, okay, Liv, what does not giving up on him look like? Because
She gonna turn to Dr. Pierce. What does that look like, Liv? What does that look like?
what does it look like? I want to know what it looks like. Because to your point and to my point, what you could hear it in my voice, what frustrated me is I was just like, yeah, you're hearing secondhand that Spencer punched a hole through a wall, but you weren't standing there.
Or exactly, or when Jordan went by to see him at this party,
And
like,
not only when Jordan went by to see him at this party, Jordan called him what, 20 times
yep. And
just to see
he going
him
out for a coach.
getting drunk at a
Everybody who
party.
Nobody just walked away from Spencer after just what? No, he pushed people away. Like he made it where it was
According to
like
Liv, Spencer just said something mean and y'all just like let it drop. No!
no,
What?
no. Like did you not hear this? Did you not hear Coop say that he punched holes and stuff? Like
Did you not? But here's the thing. Did you not hear
Dylan didn't
Coop
want to
say
stay.
that Dylan was scared, that Dylan
Yes,
didn't want to stay with him?
yes, yeah.
And so to me, these two things were two totally different things. Like, I loved it. And Spencer, you cannot tell people how to grieve. And Spencer obviously was pushing down his grief. And
Mm-hmm.
so that's one thing. And what did we say? Like, Dr. Spears needed to be the one that helped him.
Mm-hmm.
Needed, because he's a professional. I don't know why I laugh, but that's how we feeling today. Cause he's a professional.
Mm.
But think about this. Coop and Jordan didn't. Coop, let me add Alicia in that. Coop, Jordan, and Alicia didn't see didn't see Spencer with Dr. Spears, right? Like
No, they didn't.
not just Coop, Jordan, and Alicia. Like, we can go down the list of people. Grace, Carter, Dylan, Coop, Jordan, Alicia, Kenny.
He pretty much disrespected everybody but Liv. And was it just Liv?
And here's the thing, and we're saying disrespected everybody but Liv, but let's not even forget. And I'm like, Liv, you don't even know what you were missing, because let's not forget, back in your when you were going through the muck of it, yeah, he was there eventually, but let's not forget when Coop came up to him. He was still out of character, because what did he say when Coop came up to him and said, Liv needs us? He was just like, oh, she got all the help she needs.
But no, 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 no. I'm not gonna agree with you on that one now because he
No,
pretty much
I don't care. I'm finna say it.
he
You
wasn't
cannot
there because he
agree.
wasn't invited there. That's the difference.
No, no. But you think Spencer in a healthy state? You think Spencer in a healthy state would be like, "Oh, I'm not invited." Okay.
Yeah.
You think that?
Yes.
Interesting. Okay. We disagree on that.
It's the
I don't
interest.
think Spencer in a healthy state would just hear Coop saying, "Oh, we got to go help Liv," and then hear him respond, "Oh, sounds like she got all the help that she needs.
But he responded
Let me
that
rub my eye."
after he was like, "You didn't get a text," and he said, "Well, it sound pretty much. It sounded like who she wanted there is who was there."
I don't think Spencer in a healthy state is gonna let that slide. I don't think so. I don't think so. So anyway, we just disagree on that. We just disagree on that, and that's fine. But to my point and to your point, not on this specific point, not me saying point three times, but Liv didn't see. She did not see this Spencer firsthand that everybody else came into
Agreed.
contact with.
Agreed.
And so when I say, what does that look like? We don't give up on him. I'm like, okay, what would have happened if Dr. Spears hadn't talked to him today?
Mm.
because they didn't know that he was talking to Dr. Spears this
They
whole time.
didn't. They didn't.
And so, Liv, you gonna lead a kumbaya circle? I'm just wondering
And I really would have preferred to have a part where Liv was
where she experienced it. That's what
yes,
I wanted to
yes,
see because it would have
yes.
landed. Because it's like you don't know, and for the people that says, "Oh, he wouldn't have done that to Liv." Sure, okay, fine, whatever.
Listen, I don't know if he would not have had done it to Liv, but I know that she didn't experience it.
She didn't experience, and that is my point. You didn't experience it, so you can't tell these other people
That
you're
they
just
can't.
giving up on him.
Yes. That
And
they
it's not even
can't.
that they can't give up on him because it's just like they're talking to you, aren't they? Did Coop not call? Clearly, Coop called this meeting to have a discussion about Spencer.
Exactly. It's an emergency meeting. That's what I'm saying. Like, no, like you have to understand he bucked up at Dylan. He going like he's gone. And you saying we can't give up on him, but he's pushing us away.
That and she's just like, oh, so we shouldn't let him. Okay, and they finna be there if he calls. But what can to Jordan's point? What more can we do? They couldn't do
Yes.
anything because at that time a professional needed to step in.
Yeah.
And that
He was
like
unwilling. He was unwilling to talk. He was unwilling to let anybody help him. Like, you can't do nothing with an unwilling person. Like, I don't care. Like, they didn't just give up. They tried several times.
several times. And here's the thing, and this is what is being overlooked because I saw someone say essentially that Coop and Jordan just didn't get it, and that Liv is the only like Liv is his whole soulmate, and she knew what he needed. And I'm like, she did, and like this was like 306 all over again in terms of like we shouldn't
But
leave
this,
him even though he's pushing but we shouldn't leave him even though he's pushing away, but this is beyond 306 in that
it is. It is.
he wasn't just like it wasn't just telling Layla, oh, I'm gonna go up to the cabin by myself. This was him bucking up at Dylan, bucking up at Carter, bucking up at Grace, bucking up at Jordan. Like, this is
It was
not a
a
simple I don't
totally
want you here.
yeah, it was a totally different level. And at this, like, I'm with you. At the end of the day, even the ones who feel like Liv knew what he needed, but this is the thing, like you said, without had he not gone to that release with the doctor, he would not have received that get together
Boom.
well.
Probably would have ended up fighting. Let's be for real.
Yes, and say, I told y'all I was fine. You know,
Let me punch it on the wall.
like I don't think like yeah, but at the same time, Liv, you haven't reached out like that. You haven't seen what we see. You haven't experienced what we
She
experience.
called him. She called him in the last episode or something like that.
Yeah, but it was like it's a call from a distance. Like, she didn't push the issue that he's not okay like everybody else did.
Well, and this is and we're getting back to the low marks, not just for that, but for I said just the whole sort of trajectory of the grief episodes for this episode and how it wrapped it up because I think I said this as well, and I think I said this at the top before we even got the grief sort of arc. Is that I didn't want the responsibility of Spencer's grief to be put on the Bakers. And just knowing this story, I didn't want the responsibility of Spencer's grief to be put on Jordan. I didn't want the responsibility of Spencer's grief to be put on Liv. I wanted them to be able to grieve uh without like and they can be worried about Spencer and that's justified, and Jordan, like, he's my brother, and Liv, you're in love with him, that's your soulmate, and that's fine. But I
Hmm.
didn't want them to have to shoulder all of this which what we're discussing is that she didn't reach out because she is also grieving. And here's my other issue with this is that Liv, You haven't even checked on your brother. Jordan just went through his crisis
Mhm.
last yesterday. And you
Mhm.
spent the whole conversation talking about Spencer.
Oh God. Yeah.
And so it's just like, with that in mind, other people are hurting in this instance. And yes, we can be concerned about Spencer, and chief amongst those being Coop. But think about what you're going through. The fact that if this was somebody that just affected Spencer, like, you probably would have been more, to your point, Carmen, you would have probably been more proactive to go and check on him. And she's been checking, like, let's not even play. She's been checking on him, but would have been sort of more proactive in his face to go check on him. Um, but you're going through your own grief as well. And for Jordan, your brother, you're coming at Jordan over Spencer. His dad just died. Like,
Listen, well, I
what?
think when it comes to that, I think it was why Spencer's was so like the center of it is because everybody was dealing with it but Spencer. You know what I'm saying? Like everybody was open and wanting to deal with the grief, but Spencer, like he
And that's
wasn't.
fine, but does Liv know that specifically about Jordan? She never checked on him about it.
I can't remember. I have to go back to the episodes. I can't remember. I do remember her saying something about Spencer though, in Jordan episode. I do remember saying something about Spencer. But
Because she
I
never
just
checked on
I
him.
just feel like if
Because
I
she never
just feel
checked on
like
him.
I just feel like I would feel better or I would have liked it more if they was
If
going
she
to
had experienced it. If she
yeah,
had
like
experienced it, and then if you've experienced it and you're still saying he needs us more than anything, that would have been
yes,
fine.
yes, yeah,
But that didn't happen.
no,
And a litany of other things that I just said that didn't happen. And then, oh man, this is a long conversation, but I had to get this out. And then let's get to Alicia, the bystander.
oh my god. Even wait a minute though, because even how Liv came at Alicia, I was like, girl, we not gonna act like you were not just trying to snatch this girl boyfriend from under her. Like, come on, Liv now. Like, we not gonna act like you just want to do a bidding war against this girl because she
Carmen,
wanted Spencer back.
Carmen. So let's get into the Alicia conversation. Liv talks to Alicia and says Spencer is headed towards a dark place. And I was just like, no, boo boo, he's in it. He's
Yeah,
in the dark. And
yeah, he moved
this
in. He got a
again
couch.
is like signifying
Listen, Spencer
that
had a couch in
either
that
through the
place.
dialogue or through something, the fact that she didn't experience it, that she didn't like really truly understand what was happening, because the
Yes,
fact that she even said he's headed towards a dark place.
yes.
So that she tells Alicia. And then she's just like, nothing has impacted him like her dad's death. And then Alicia is just like, you know, she tried. And again, I'm like, stand up for yourself and thank you. She was just
What
like, no, I tried
she did,
to
because
be there
she
for him.
did on several. She tried more than
She
one.
so many
The fact that she stayed to the house while Spencer left to go help Liv, like, boo, she tried.
tried several times.
Yeah,
And that's why I don't like that through Liv's dialogue and through what Liv was saying, according to Liv, people just didn't try hard enough.
people didn't
According to
try. They
Liv,
just they just gave up on the first.
they
Yeah,
just gave
yeah, that Spencer
up.
did to them. Yeah,
And it's like, and this was the one part of, like, I truly just did not like, is that Liv was just like, oh, well, it's like, tell me what happened. And I hate, but I just really strongly dislike that Alicia said, you happened, instead
why?
of explaining what actually happened.
Well, that
Because
is what
yes,
happened.
she happened, but that's not what we're talking about in terms of the greater grief.
That's
Like,
okay.
what actually?
That's what Alicia had. She pointed off her chest. She didn't care. She just took the opportunity to get it off her
Listen,
chest. You
sure,
have
sure, she needed to get it off her chest, but I'm talking about specifically in spit, like the grief and this whole idea of people just abandoning Spencer. Because, and let me go back to what Spencer said, because I also got on him, because he was just like, and he has a right to feel this way, but there are perceptions and there's reality in what happened. Because Spencer told Dr. Spears, Spencer told Dr. Spears, uh, even my girl bounced the minute things got tough. That is a lie.
listen. Listen, I was like, what girl he's talking about? Is he talking about Liv or is he talking about like I don't know if he was 100% talking about Alicia in that comment.
Child. Well, and that's not even true. Either way you
I didn't
slice it, it's
listen.
not
I didn't say it
true.
was true. I never said it was true. I just said I'm not sure who he was talking about. Because
I think Spencer got more
but it,
problems if he's calling
but that
Liv.
was one of the points. But that was one of the points the good doctor was letting him know the way he was seeing people as leaving
His
him.
perception is not
Yes,
reality, and I
exactly.
think that we need to call that out, because even, and you know what, this is a great conversation to have in the midst of this greater conversation about Liv and Coop and how they responded, because let's say that again, Spencer's perception was not the reality of what happened.
Mm-hmm.
People didn't leave him,
Mm-mm.
they died.
Yes.
And so he has abandonment issues, but just like Liv was just like, we can't just we can't just leave him. People didn't leave him.
Nobody. Nobody and nobody gave up on him neither.
Nobody gave up on him.
People
Nobody left
removed
him
themselves. Coop removed herself and Dylan from the house because they didn't feel safe. That wasn't
at
them
that
giving up.
moment, and then
Yes.
went to game plan about what they were going to do
I was
next.
just
That's
gonna
not
say,
leaving. That's
yes.
not leaving. That's not
No.
abandoning. That's not giving up.
Come back, Lexi. Come back.
No.
She like, why do they have Liv say this? Why? Why?
Because I can't tell you how much that bugged me. And
I
because
know. It's
people
like the
then
writers, it's like they wanted Liv to be an answer for him, but it's
they
like
needed it, but it
if
was
they
just
was
like,
gonna go that route, well, let Liv be the end. Like, let Liv go talk to him and do the whole like. But it was like that's not what we got. We got
that's
her
not what we got.
misinformed, misunderstanding, not experience the situation, but judging.
And that is because like the audience, I think, or what I've seen, a great deal of people walked away from this episode being like, see, Olivia is the only one that understands Spencer and the only one that
No,
understands what he's going through. And I'm like,
how they can't.
that's not
Yeah, I don't know
true.
how people would say that when obviously what he needed the most was his therapy section, and his mom did that.
I'm not even gonna touch that one. But I'm just gonna say that's not
Well, I
true.
am. I said
Other
what
people,
I
and
said.
I love that for you.
And I love that for you. I'm like, she may have part of the answer, but she didn't have the whole answer
She
alone.
had part of the answer and she did a
Yes.
really great thing for him, and she was correct in that people did need to continue to be there for him. But I'm just saying that other people didn't just give up on him,
No, exactly. Nobody gave up on
and
him.
and also that other people properly diagnosed what
But
Spencer was going
who
through.
gave
Coop
nobody
Coop
nobody gave up on him. Nobody
Nobody
did.
gave up on him. And also, Coop said, I'm not going to let you do what you always do. Jordan said, this is what he always does.
Yes.
So nobody gave up on him. And that's all I'm finna say.
Nope.
Nobody gave up on him.
Not even
Um,
Alicia. Not even Alicia. She didn't give up
and
on him
then
either.
Alicia said, you happened. Whatever. And then
So
she's
whatever.
just like, you're really the woman in his life, blah blah blah. This conversation was so just awkward and uncomfortable. You're the woman in his life. And then Liv was just like, no, I'm not. And it's like, Liv, be for real.
Be for
BFFR.
real. Be for real.
Did you not just, to your point, you were just trying to break them up, but I'm not even going to that. I'm just going to, did you not just, I'm not even, I'm gonna skip that part and be like, did you not just tell Spencer, I just knew what you needed? She needs to be FFR because she just told, she literally just told Spencer, like, I just knew what you needed. Uh, and so I that's why I bid on you, because like I just wanted you to feel better. So I don't know why she's being like, that's not me anymore. And then people try to say, oh, it's because she saw him happy with Alicia and he's still with Alicia. And I'm like,
What?
eh,
No, when
eh.
did she see him happy with Alicia? Refresh my mind. Since the whole she said she in love with him still.
But
When
that's
did
what I'm
she?
saying. She literally just, they saw, she saw him that one time where I did, were they, did they even kiss before she came in? I don't even remember. But just saw him that one time before he left to go help her. Like,
But
what are
that's
we
what I'm
talking about
saying.
here?
Before Billy died, right? Before
Literally.
Billy died, when and since she told him that she still want to be with him, when did she see him with Alicia?
Oh, before Billy died, what did she see him with Alicia
Yeah,
at the
yeah. After telling him, confessing her feelings to him. When
No,
did she?
that's it. They didn't, she didn't see him with Alicia in
That's what I'm
between the space
saying. So
of
what?
confessing her feelings and Billy dying.
And my sister ain't care nothing about him being with Alicia when she was confessing her feelings. So I don't know why Liv want to play crazy. We're not playing crazy with Liv.
And then so at the end of it, and then we're getting back to the end of it. At the end of it, obviously she ends up coming, which, girl, you already said I'm not trying to be dumb, and then you finna be dumb anyway. Like, this is what I can't stand about Alicia. It's
Oh
like, I
my
be trying to
god.
defend you.
Yes.
I really be trying to defend this girl, and then she just does stupid stuff. Like,
Like, girl,
clearly.
you walked away and that you did the right thing. You did the right thing for you. Because all I hear is, don't get me wrong, like I love me some Spencer James. Y'all know that. But all I kept hearing Liv was saying what Spencer need and disregarding what he was doing to other people. So it was like, yeah, I get that he need this, but ma'am, he has went off on people, he has disrespected people. It's not all about just what he need when he's rejecting people. Like, no, and
And
that's include Alicia.
I think that's my point. Is
Yeah, and
it's
that include Alicia. She tried. She tried her hardest, and he would not let her in. Why should she keep putting herself setting up to be rejected because you feel Spencer just need anybody to give up on him? No, Spencer
right,
need a
right.
beating.
And also, just like, to this point, this Dr. Spears said this great point, right? You have to learn how to move past this. Like, we always give deference to his abandonment issues, but that's not a reason to always defer to what Spencer thinks that he needs at the time, if that makes
Hmm.
sense. Like, yes, he feels abandoned, but Spencer needs to work through this with a professional.
That part.
It's not Jordan and Coop's responsibility to make Spencer work through his abandonment issues.
Is that or Grace or
Or
anybody? Like,
Grace. Or anybody. Or you, Liv. And that is my, as a Liv stan, I'm like, it is not your responsibility to drop everything because Spencer needs help. Because, to be honest, Dr. Spears is the one that can help him.
exactly. And yes, yep. And that's why I'm saying Grace made the call. The man showed up. Like, come on. You see how he had to get to a breaking point where he called the doctor himself? Like, he has to do the work. Like,
He has
when
to do
he
the work.
decides he's ready to do the work, then everybody can come together and show up. But if they decide to back away and take steps away from him because he have lost his mind, let them live.
That's okay. And you know what? I'm so glad you said that, because, and this is a really long conversation, but it's important. I'm glad you said that, because not only does he need to do the work, it's like, why do we always, always make it seem like it's okay for certain people to have help along the way of doing the work, and for other people for that not to be the case? And I'm going to use Liv as the same example. Liv barely got through a night, barely got through the night being like, you know, yeah, I can't take a drink, and then needed help from Jordan and Layla, right? And then called her village, right?
Mm-hmm.
Within an hour of Nurse Joy being there, she was just like, "Okay, fun's over. You need to figure out why you need to figure out why you want to take a drink." There was no like sitting in the mess.
Listen, but this is what, but that was some. Even though that was some tough advice, it was like she was saying,
It's
like,
what she needed to hear.
yeah, she was like, everybody cannot babysit you for the rest of your life. So you have to figure out what is causing you to feel this way. And that's what I'm saying. Like, Spencer was not there. He wasn't at the point where he wanted to deal with it. So why
Right,
should everybody go and try to force him? You see, every time somebody try to force him, he lash out.
right, right. And
So
so in the end, she ended up uh, she ended up helping him, and she did a really great thing for him, and she did understand what he needed, and diagnosed the problem, and that said it had to do with his abandonment issues, and as she's talking to him, and as he figures out from Darnell that Liv is the person that put this all together, Alicia comes walking in the room, and
yes, she
everybody's
did.
faces in the background.
Everybody's face expression. Oh my god. Everybody. And like, I don't know why Liv wouldn't
especially
got her.
Jordan's. Michael is unserious.
Yes. Listen. And I just was like, don't look at her like that. Look at Liv. Liv went and got that girl. Like, that girl was somewhere minding her business. Like, yeah.
So
Liv brought
that's
her
what
back
it
to the
is.
circle for her to dial over
Look,
again.
that. And we don't have a synopsis yet. So as soon as we get the synopsis, we'll get some predictions for y'all. But that's it. That's all we got. This is like an hour and 30-minute conversation.
Yes, yes.
Thank you for listening.
Bye.